Well, thank you for that introduction, Marco. Delighted to be here. My name is Alex Kayyal. Been at Salesforce for about 2.5 years now, running Salesforce Ventures and Corporate Development in Europe. So I'm going to share a few words today about Salesforce as a company, and also what we do as part of Salesforce Ventures. Marco just mentioned how we invest in the ecosystem, and that's been a big focus of ours over the last 8 or so years. So cloud innovation has been critical to Salesforce. If you think about how we've grown as a company over the last 18 years, we've been incredibly innovative. And as part of that, there's been a whole new ecosystem that has thrived. Salesforce wants to help incubate that ecosystem and invest in that ecosystem. And we've done that really to make our customers more successful. One of the core tenets of Salesforce, one of the things that keeps us going is ensuring customer success. And a great manifestation of this is if you come to Dreamforce, our company event, you'll see over 4,000 companies on display. These are companies on the App Exchange that are showcasing innovation. And so we've invested in many of these businesses to help accelerate their growth and give our customers more access to some of what's happening in the most disruptive B2B enterprise applications, not just from Salesforce itself, but around our ecosystem as well. So that's ultimately why we've been doing this. If you take a step back and say, what does this look like from a portfolio perspective? Here you can see both some of the product categories that Salesforce has and also some of the investments we've made. Marco mentioned companies like Stripe. We're also investors in Twilio, DocuSign, MuleSoft in the US, companies like New Voice Media and Qubit in the UK, and really all across the world. It's been a really great experience for us getting to help these companies grow and succeed above just capital. And interestingly, as you'll notice here, when we think about investments, we think about how they fit into the rest of the Salesforce family. That's a really important piece of that to us. That's why we show our portfolio across the kind of key Salesforce product clouds. Ultimately, that's how we can drive alignment and how we can help these companies is when we invest in companies that we know something about in their space, and that obviously we have customers in and we have real market presence in. So it's a pretty important part of our model. We've also backed a lot of our system integrator partners across the world. So this is a global effort. You can see here some of the companies we've backed. You may know Empower here in Germany, which is helping a lot of startups grow their business on Salesforce. And so not only do we invest in software ISVs, but we've also invested in system integrators as well. Now this puts it into perspective from a global game. As I mentioned, obviously Salesforce has grown over the last 18 years all across the world, and our investment philosophy really reflects that. We're active in over 14 countries. The last count is 180 plus active portfolio companies that we've invested in, and so that gives us a pretty unique insight around business models, trends, innovation that's happening in different markets, and we want to help our companies go across these geographies. If I think about many Salesforce Ventures portfolio companies that started in Europe, they now expand into the US, and that bridge is getting ever tighter. Also in the other direction, US-based companies that come to Europe. So we're all about helping foster that connection. Our philosophy on this is that geography is starting to matter less and less, and when you're building an enterprise software company, you can do it really from anywhere in the world and access some of the biggest markets. So we want to back that trend. This is a slide we're particularly excited about. We're now the third most active corporate investor alongside Intel and Google. In the UK and in Europe, we're actually #1. We've shown here some of the other partners that we see in the UK. And importantly, on the right there, you'll see some of the leading co-investors that we work with. One of the things that's very important about our model, when we invest in companies, we don't want to be the only investor. We recognize that building a very successful business requires a partnership, and we recognize that there's a lot of value that traditional VCs play. And so for us, it's really all about finding that synergy and co-investing with traditional partners that can add value to companies in a different way. And we're delighted with some of the company we keep in terms of the names we back. And so what I always tell to entrepreneurs is the best CEOs always are very strategic around how they think about fundraising. This is a very long-term game. And they should think about how different types of investors can add value to their business in different ways. So obviously, financial VCs do a lot of great things. But having a strategic investor alongside your business can offer a whole world of access and resource that a traditional investor can't. And that's how we like to think of ourselves, which is why we always co-invest. About 2 years ago, we actually announced a fund dedicated 100% to Europe and Israel, really. And that fund is active, and we're investing in companies. Here you see just some of our portfolio companies. I'll highlight some. WeFox is here in Berlin. I don't know if it used to be called Finance Fox. I'm sure you've heard about it. Disrupting the insurance market in a very interesting way. Onfido, which is offering identity verification as a service, scaling very rapidly all across the world. Companies like Qubit in the personalization space, or companies like Automile, based out of Stockholm, which is offering fleet management for SMBs. So a very varied portfolio. We've invested in all, as I said, 9 different countries in Europe. And we try to back companies early, kind of Series A and up, where we can really add value around the Salesforce kind of ecosystem and power. Now, the first question I typically get when I meet with an entrepreneur is, does getting funded from Salesforce limit your options for selling to other companies? And the answer is categorically no. We ultimately are doing this to grow our ecosystem and to help companies succeed. We're not doing this as an M&A program in disguise. And here you can see we've actually been very fortunate in the 8-9 years that we've been doing this. We've had a variety of exits, and most of those have gone to other companies. So Salesforce has been an acquirer a handful of times. You can see some of the examples here. But out of the 49, the vast majority of the M&A outcomes we've had have gone to companies like Oracle, IBM, Amazon, GE Digital, et cetera. So that's a really important part of how we think about this program. And our view is that the best entrepreneurs always have access to capital and can choose who they work with. And so by ensuring that we are aligned with the entrepreneur's interests and are able to help them have a big outcome and a big exit, we're able to back some of the most disruptive companies. Similarly, on the IPO front, we've been very delighted with some of the companies that have had public company exits as well, like a Box, like a HubSpot, or like a Twilio. So why do companies come to us? At a very simple level, there's 3 reasons that we talk about here. Access is the biggest one. That's access to our ecosystem, access to our customer base. As a young startup trying to scale and grow revenues, maybe from getting from the 1 to 10 million milestone to kind of getting to 10 to 50 million, you want to get access to as many opportunities to grow that business and get access to customers. So that's critical. The second big piece for us is advice. So Salesforce has been doing this for 18 years. We pioneered the shift to the cloud in many ways, and both from a technology and from a business model perspective. And so the opportunity to meet with a lot of Salesforce executives and really get help in terms of, how do I price my product? How do I think about content marketing? How should I put an event together? We try to expose as many of our portfolio companies to those opportunities to learn. And then the last is credibility. As a young company, when you're trying to hire people, get additional investors, get access to the media, and sell to customers, being able to say that Salesforce Ventures has backed you is a great stamp of approval. Obviously, Salesforce as a brand cares a lot about that, and we want to help our companies grow as a result of that. And then last but not least, this is one of the things that makes me most excited about being at Salesforce. So when our company started 18 years ago and Mark Benioff co-founded Salesforce, he developed this concept of the 1-1-1 model, which is 1% of time, 1% of equity, 1% of product. Now, at the time, as a startup, that was all equal to 0 because we didn't have anything. So it was very easy back then to do that. Fast forward today, that a lot of charities and nonprofits are able to access Salesforce products for free, and a lot of Salesforce employees give 6 days a year to volunteer to any charity of their choice. And so we saw how successful that model was at Salesforce, and we've now replicated it for startups to adopt. So it's a program called Pledge 1%. You can see here just some of the companies that have taken the pledge, and you don't have to pledge all 3. You can start with one of product, equity, or time. And it's had a tremendous impact on employee morale, retention, and really kind of getting beyond just the business of business, but really doing good in the world. So we're very excited about Pledge 1%. So regardless of whether we fund your business or not, I encourage you to take this pledge and help with employee growth. So thank you very much. Hope that gives you a whistle-stop tour of Salesforce Ventures, and it would be great to meet some of the most disruptive entrepreneurs in Germany or elsewhere. Thank you.